welcome to another episode of Seeing Sentai. I'm MarzGurl. Today we're taking a look at Taiyou Sentai Sun Vulcan episodes 15 through 21. Let's just jump right into the naming of the monsters that we saw for these last 7 episodes. We had monsters such as Timemonger, Vaulting Box Monger, Gasmonger, Cameramonger, Toadmonger, and Wrestlermonger, and Sea Anemone Monger. I don't feel like I need to talk about every single episode that I watched this week, but I do want to give you a brief rundown of a few of these episodes because some of them I felt were really rewarding and some very important. I think episode 15 with Timemonger in it is kind of interesting because it sort of employs the exact same function that you're gonna later on see, not in Sentai, but in video games, specifically Assassin's Creed. Because there's a particular character that shows up in episode 15 who swears that his ancestors were pirates and they totally had treasure out there somewhere, but he didn't know where it was. And so Black Magma decides, well, we need to find that treasure, so we need to get this monster Timemonger to sit him down in this chair and strap him up to a machine, and then get his brain to go back in time so that he regains the memories of his ancestors so that they can find this treasure. So as you can see, this later on gets employed. If you at all understand the story of Assassin's Creed, that is largely what happens, but clearly this came first. I just thought that that was a really interesting, like the execution, it sounds so dumb, and yet we accept it in other storytelling mediums, you know? And so they get the monster to send his brain back in time, but they stop it too soon, and so when he snaps out of it, he thinks he is his ancestor, so they do this 2 or 3 times. He comes back out thinking he's a samurai, and then he comes back out thinking he's this pirate, which very funny and quirky, but in the end it turned out that somebody else had committed mutiny against the pirate, and so that treasure wasn't there anymore anyway, so everybody loses. Now, episode 16 is super important. The story's kinda dumb, and the monster's kinda dumb, but the reason why that particular episode is important is because this is the very first episode in which we see an end-of-episode Super Sentai dance. This does not happen during the closing credits like you might be used to in more modern Super Sentai series, but it's the first time that it comes into play, and it eventually builds into something that you're gonna come to recognize as being this closing credits dance. It happens again just a few episodes later, but it's not something that reoccurs a whole bunch, but you notice it starts popping up, and it's not a very intricate dance, it's barely a dance, it's a bunch of poses, and everybody's singing along with the lyrics of the song, but it's basically what's gonna turn into your dance that you know today. And I just thought that was really interesting to see that standard, that Super Sentai standard, appear for the very first time. Episode 17 had Gasmonger in it, but Gasmonger wasn't even the best monster. There's a whole bunch of other ghosts in that episode, and one of the ghosts has this really long snake-like neck, and I thought that monster, that suit, specifically the snake-like head, was the best monster yet, because it's on like wires or some other kind of puppetry, and the neck is just kind of going back and forth. Not a whole heck of a lot more to say about it. I just thought that monster in particular was really, really cool. Now, a few weeks back in Zyuohger, you might remember we had a camera-based monster that was able to take pictures of people, and then it locked people up in the photo that it spat out. That was definitely not the first time that happened. Here in episode 18, they had Cameramonger here in Sun Vulcan, who would basically do the same thing, and they were specifically targeting athletes. So Cameramonger would take pictures of these athletes, and it would capture the person inside the photograph that it would take. Then they would go and replace those athletes with evil robots who would perform even better than the original athletes, and suddenly they were becoming superstar plants set there by Black Magma. Just kind of wanted to talk about that and show that that's one of those stereotypes that gets repeated over the years, and really I like camera-based monsters a lot, and that might be because I work with cameras for a living, but yeah, that monster, one of my favorites, near and dear to my heart. One episode that I thought was especially important was episode 20 with Wrestlermonger. And Wrestlermonger, of course, he's just this big, kind of pro wrestling looking kind of monster dude. And the point was that in this particular episode, man, I felt like Hell Saturn looked really intimidating for the first time in a really long time. And he's just kind of pissed that Sun Vulcan has defeated him over and over and over again. You see this montage of footage from all these last 19 episodes or so, and he's so pissed. And Queen Hedrion says, oh, well, he's feeling the angry, restless souls of all of these troops that he's lost so far, so we need to put their souls to rest and really defeat Sun Vulcan in their name. So they bring out Wrestlermonger, who is going around to different fighting style, like boxing rings and wrestling rings and martial arts studios and dojos, that sort of thing. Doesn't matter whether they're adults or kids, he goes in there and he beats them all up and then he runs away before Sun Vulcan can ever show up. And this just, of course, pisses off Sun Vulcan because they're just attacking innocent people, but it pisses off nobody more so than Vul Shark. Vul Shark seems especially angry, and he's out in the middle of the street just yelling, "Get out here, Black Magma! Come out here and fight me!" And then he goes specifically all by himself to go and fight Wrestlermonger in the middle of a wrestling ring, but it turned out it was kind of a trap, and it was a bad idea to go in there all by himself because the ropes are electrified or something, and then finally the other two members of Sun Vulcan come in and rescue him, but he's passed out at this point, and they have to take him to a sick bay of some variety, and they're so pissed at him, like, why did he go off and do this on his own? Why was he so pissed off that he needed to go run off and do this? And the commander tells this really sad backstory, and he goes, well, I guess it's because he saw his own little brother there getting attacked, basically, because his little brother is dead, and they're like, what are you talking about? And he goes on to further fill in the backstory. Well, his family all lived in Africa. His dad studied something, and his mom was there, and his little brother, and he loved his family, but his family got attacked, and they all died, and he's the only one that was left alive, and so he was the first to show up at Sun Vulcan and volunteer to be a member of Sun Vulcan because he was so passionate about not wanting innocent people to get hurt again. And then the commander's daughter, Misa, is just crying over his passed out body. It's like, oh my god, I can't believe this happened. And it left me feeling like, okay, finally, like, we're getting backstory that, like, actually matters, and it's not just this episodic, I don't care who these members of Sun Vulcan are, they just wear cool costumes and stop the bad guys. No, now I actually care about why it is Vul Shark is doing what he's doing. By the end of the episode, he wakes up out of his coma, and they kind of have this indication that he and Misa might have kind of a thing going on, because she was crying over him, and he wakes up, and he's like, hey, you look as cute as ever. And I'm like, oh, will they or won't they? And part of me was like, they'll never talk about it again. And yet, the very next episode, episode 21, right at the very beginning, he's riding his motorcycle and Misa's clinging to him, and they're out on vacation going down to the beach, and they're happy, just the two of them. But immediately it is canceled because the commander's like, hey, sorry bro, there's some stuff going down, and I'm sending out Vul Eagle and Vul Panther to come and join you. And he's like, oh, sorry, I guess we're not having this vacation. So were they out on a date? What was that? Maybe I need to keep an eye on it. Are they actually going to, like, continue the idea of this relationship between a member of Sun Vulcan and somebody else within the organization? Like, them actually following through with that would be kind of nice to actually watch these relationships form and grow and them not just stay stagnant. I don't think it's gonna go very much farther than that, but if it did, it would surprise me and it would make me very, very happy. So those are really some of the biggest, most important things to have happened within the series of Sun Vulcan over the course of these last 7 episodes. I really want to keep going because it's really exciting to see how Super Sentai continues to grow through the year of 1981 and how we continue to see Super Sentai standards that we know and love today begin to get represented as time goes on. I think that's going to do it for now, so I'm going to try and power through the next 7 episode for you guys and get it out to you. If you want to see this earlier than anybody else, go to patreon.com/MarzGurl and get yourself some rewards, get your names here in the credits of the episode too. Thank you very much, guys, and I'll be seeing everybody soon.